We're back with our final video here of chapters 1 and 2, and you can see how many pesos that are being sent back to Spain, basically in terms of gold and silver, from the years of increased colonization. And that's what mercantilism is, when you talk about just money being imported back so that the Spanish crown can basically have all this money to spend on the wars that they want to. This is the society and what it looks like in general, and what you see is sort of like people of mixed race here, and Europeans right here, the fairer skinned, kind of a social caste system if you want to get into it. But again, that's kind of what we have in Latin America. The toll of Spanish conquest and colonization. Well, Spain was in control in New Spain, but declining by 1560. They hadn't conquered every major center of Indian Native American civilization yet, but one thing that's interesting here, if you look at this date, it basically means that by the end of the 1500s, Spain is just going to be toast in terms of the colonial game. Britain and France are going to be the new powers in North America. Population starts to decrease due to diseases, especially, and labor shortage to basically farm some of the cash crops that are needed. And that's where we start needing labor from Africa, and this is where slavery, chattel slavery, the whole idea of selling and buying human beings in order to perform tasks against their will, this is when it really all starts, and it only starts when we need labor from, in order to do the work, because of the disease that creeps in and kills plenty of Native Americans. So what's the legacy of New Spain's colonization? First of all, an astounding 90% of Native Americans are dead within 80 years of European arrival. Again, I tried to make that point with this, is that it's not just overpowering firepower, it's diseases. The resistance to disease that Europeans have is just not what Native Americans have. The race for colonization is going to heat up because Britain and France are going to try to get in on the game. Although their colonies are going to be unsuccessful in the 1500s, there are going to be plenty more colonies that are going to be set up, especially in the 1600s. Whereas the 1500s is kind of like Spain and Portugal's time. The 1600s and 1700s is France and England's time. I did talk about the Treaty of Tordesillas in 1494, how the east, to the east of that line, Portugal gets, the west of that line, Spain gets, and that is what Latin America's legacy is for today. Of course, the western part of that being Spanish-speaking countries, and the eastern part being, of course, Portuguese-speaking countries. And this is exactly what the Treaty of Tordesillas line is, just to get a little bit more in depth on that. 1,100 miles west of the Canary Islands belonging to Spain. And again, that's an important part about the way that Spain and North America are, and South America is today. The altered cultural landscape with the Columbian exchange, with the dissemination of ideas, as well as the transfer of crops, germs, farm animals. All this creates a new world in the new world, and that sounded kind of weird, but that's kind of like what's going on. So the legacy is a mixed one. I think, if you were to ask me, or any historian, has it been positive with the Columbian exchange, I would say you need to look at the positives and the negatives of this, and really evaluate, because there's been so many horrible things that have happened with Native Americans. and the things that have been done to them. But as we go on in this course, we'll definitely learn more about that. So thank you, and look forward to next week and the next series of lectures. Hopefully these helped.